Hello. Today I'm going to share a chocolate chip cookie recipe. It's a simple one with plenty of gooey chocolate goodness. Perfect for those summer picnics just round the corner. This is Isaac and welcome back to the channel. Let's get baking. Okay, let's start off by mixing some all-purpose flour, coffee powder, salt, baking powder and baking soda in a clean bowl. Feel free to skip the coffee if you don't want the caffeine, but it really helps deepen the flavour of the chocolate, so leave it in if you can. And don't worry, all the ingredients and quantities will be in the description down below. Any questions, just let me know. Next, we'll whip up some butter and sugar for about 5 minutes until it is nice and pale. I'm using a mix of light brown and white sugar to make a slightly denser but more flavourful cookie. Once you have something looking like this, whisk in some eggs one at a time and some vanilla extract. Doing it like this will make sure it gets incorporated evenly. Next, scrape down your bowl, add in about half your flour mixture and give it a very quick whisk. If you're using the electric mixer, this is about 30 seconds on the lowest speed. Mixing it for too long or too hard will overdevelop the gluten and you'll end up with chocolate chip rocks rather than chocolate chip cookies. Okay, once combined, repeat with the rest of the flour and you should have something gorgeous looking like this. Right, let's talk about chocolate. I like to use dark, bittersweet chocolate with about 70% cocoa because the chocolate itself is already very sweet. This is just my preference though. Feel free to use normal milk chocolate as well, but try to avoid the cheap stuff with less than 50% cocoa content. That stuff tends to burn in the oven rather than melt evenly, and no one wants that in a cookie. You also want to make sure you chop up the chocolate into both big and small chunks. This will help create pockets of gooey chocolate in the cookie. Add these to the cookie dough, leaving aside about 50 grams of the larger chunks. You'll see why later. Now it's time to let the cookie dough rest in the fridge for at least 1 hour, preferably overnight as it gives the flour more time to hydrate and develop more flavour throughout the cookie. Waiting is always the hardest part when it comes to baking, but once that's done, let's make them into little cookie dough balls. I like to do this using a small ice cream scoop about 4 cm in diameter, but don't worry if you do not have one, you can also use your hands to shape them into little balls just like this. Just make sure you put them back in the fridge for about 10 minutes to cool down before baking. The trick here is to make sure the cookie dough is nice and cool. This will stop it from spreading too thinly in the oven. Just before it goes into the oven, it's time to use the rest of our chocolate. Stick the big chunks of chocolate onto each of the dough ball. This will help create big pools of chocolate goodness as it melts in the oven. Now bake it at 175 degrees Celsius for 16 minutes. Let the cookies cool and harden a little bit before lifting from the baking sheet. They can keep up to a few days and develop an extra chew in an airtight container, but I like to eat them when they're still a little bit warm, when the chocolate is still runny. That's it for today, and sorry for being away for the last few months. The normal schedule will resume from next week. All ingredients and instructions are down below in the description box. Any questions or comments, you know what to do. Take care, and I'll see you guys next week.